What do you have to lose? You're living in poverty. Your schools are no good. You have no jobs. 58% of your youth is unemployed. What the hell do you have to lose?
Report live from the other side of America.
My name is Chiu. I'm from South Philly. Throughout my public school experience, I've been to McCall Elementary School, I've been to Masterman Middle School, and Central High School.
Hi, my name is Abigail Thomas. I'm 20 years old, and I go to the Community College of Philadelphia.
Hi, my name is Julia Pastor Trujillo. I moved to Philly in 2014, went into high school, Central High School in North Philly, and now I'm at Penn.
My name is Taryn Flaherty. I went to Julia R. Masterman, and I now go to the University of Pennsylvania.
I'm Gerald Campano. I'm a professor in the Graduate School of Education in the Literacy, Culture, and International Education Division. I identify first and foremost as a teacher.
I'm a dorm nasty like sugar and grits. Yeah. Nick got the cam, he witnessing greatness. Low tolerance, but I'm so high maintenance. Chrome hard store, we shopping in Vegas. Old friend stuck, they shocked she made it. North Philly zone, I'm a guide to the children. I did play my role as the hero and the villain. Y'all want millions, we want billions.
So the School District of Philadelphia receives most of its local funding from property taxes, but the problem is schools don't have enough money because of a policy called the 10-year tax abatement. For about 15 years up to now has given all new development in the city a 100% tax break for its first 10 years after it's built.
I just can't believe the city is allowing all this development and giving all these rich people a free pass.
The city is prioritizing greedy development and luxury high-rises over our students.
Tax abatement sucks. We need more funding.
Shame on Pennsylvania! Shame on the unjust funding of our school kids! Shame on this legislature for not standing up for our children! They sit on a $10 billion surplus where our kids live in poverty! Shame on this state!
To say that there has to be more money put back into our communities. Philadelphia, including a bunch of other counties in PA, have gone to the state Supreme Court to sue for the fact that we don't have enough funding.
The other half of the school district's funding comes from the state. So Pennsylvania is actually among some of the worst states in terms of funding their local public schools. They are ranked 45th out of 50 states in their share of funding to their public schools.
Yeah, Philadelphia is already the poorest large city in the country, and they expect us just to fund education for thousands upon thousands of students, often Black and brown low-income students, all by ourselves basically. They have been depriving Philadelphia and the rest of the state of funding that we need.
They're just absolutely profound inequalities, in the system.
The city giving hundreds of millions of dollars in tax cuts to predatory developers and greedy developers when our children are in schools with mold, asbestos, lead, where our students don't have libraries, where they don't have enough teachers, textbooks.
The megalodon never seen on his wrist. I'm from the south where they never make it this rich. God is the greatest, but Satan been on his shit. Walking the pavement, I pray I'm illuminated. Over a decade and never nobody's favorite.
Local universities in the Philadelphia area need to step up as well. Because they are classified as nonprofits, they do not have to pay any property taxes. This is kind of insane because Drexel and Penn own so much property. Penn is the largest private landowner in the city, but it does not pay property taxes to the city of Philadelphia and to its school district. Before Drexel and Penn existed, there used to be a neighborhood that has been largely decimated through Penn and Drexel's expansion. This neighborhood that still exists, called the Black Bottom, is a working class black neighborhood that has been displaced by Penn and Drexel. A lot of property tax paying citizens that once lived where Drexel and Penn are, and now Instead of those people paying property taxes, Penn and Drexel, because they are nonprofits and universities, do not pay any property taxes.
Really wealthy, quote-unquote, nonprofits, have found a way, not to pay property taxes, which is one of the main funding streams for public schools. That's obviously not going to be the answer. It's one tiny piece of a much larger puzzle. These are very deep racist and colonial systemic structures. The pilots movement is really trying to say everyone needs to play their part, and universities such as Penn, it's their civic responsibility.
Yes. Also, another thing we don't have. For younger kids especially, like a playground and recess area, like a lot of schools don't have that because our schools are so small already and overcrowded that like play areas for younger kids are like the first to be sacrificed.
Some of the things that we just didn't have, in our public schools growing up, a lot of it is like some for supplies, like paper for worksheets, like reams of copy paper, tissues, hand sanitizers, crayons, markers, pencils, all those kinds of things that a school should be able to provide, a school district should be able to provide, a city, a state government. Updated textbooks that are not falling apart, and textbooks that aren't like 20 years old. And we have to cut funding for our library. It's like bathrooms, like we have to be cheap on those things. We have to be cheap on a lot of things. A lot of people don't realize that sports, arts, all these things are great ways to keep our kids off the street, right?
And if you think class size doesn't matter, then you've never taught in a classroom where there are 45 kids to one, and you've never been a student in a classroom like that. There's vermin infestations, flooding in schools, like, the roofs caving in, not to mention like asbestos and the asthma attacks, the lead, and the piping. They were aware of all these things. I know, this is like generations and generations of kids with like dangerous toxins, or how the metal detectors and how schools resemble prisons, and again the lack of nurses, the lack of counselors. And this is coming from the young people who are living school every day.
Most of the schools I've been to have had really unsanitary bathrooms, bathrooms that don't work. I remember once in middle school, people used to ask to go to the nurse and then use the bathroom there because the bathrooms were unusable or closed or shut down or unsanitary. We had 3 counselors for 2,400 kids. We did not have enough janitors, did not have enough books. The books that we did have were used, beat up. Some of them weren't readable. Teachers would ask us for supplies for extra credit.
My classmates and I were kind of scared because we knew that we had asbestos in our walls. In high school, our ceiling fell through in our one of our stairways, and that wasn't fixed for a while.
Send an order through a hands-free. Kill you in 24 hours, the shorter you can't ignore the hand speed. On guard, it's off the head, this improv, but it's no comedy. Sign I fail, hell nah. Ha 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 ha.
Philadelphia school leaders over asbestos concerns. We mapped out the schools that have closed this year because of the health hazard.
Close to 100 or so parents, they are here. They're questioning the school district about why this keeps happening in their kids' schools. Parents and students protested before Thursday's meeting on asbestos in Philly schools.
This is a matter of trust also. Our parents trust us. A lot of our schools have worked very hard to build up the community trust, and this is a breach of their trust, and it's not fair.
Now the school was shut down on December 20th after officials found damage to pipe insulation that contains asbestos.
It's terrifying. We are reaching an all-new low, and we need to do something about it fast.
Cornell Elementary was also closed on December 20th because of asbestos concerns. A combined 1,600 students attend the schools. McClure and Cornell are the 5th and 6th school closed this school year because of asbestos issues. Franklin Learning Center was also closed in December.
This is a great school, but the building is horrible, so they really need to get it taken care of.
Eyewitness News saw students leaving Franklin Learning Center with face masks on.
Don't feel safe.
my children will not return to the school until all the work is done, or I'm just going to find a new school for them to go to.
I have no confidence at this point, none, not at all.
In March 2013, Dr. William Haidt announced that there was a budget gap of $304 million.
We are sick and tired of this crisis mentality.
When parents send our children to school, we expect them to be safe, and we expect them to learn.
They have allowed poverty and deprivation to be the new normal among our public schools and for our children.
And trying to survive and trying to thrive under these conditions, they're in a unique position to generate knowledge, right, about the system and how it reproduces inequality. So that's one of the reasons I do participatory research, is that the young people I work with are in a unique position, better than I am, to analyze the conditions of schooling in Philadelphia. If we want a genuine multiracial democracy, which we don't have right now, we really have to have a robust, public school system.
Good public schools are necessary for Philadelphia because public schools are a way to give everyone an equal opportunity, even though that's not necessarily how, at times, because of the resources that have been allocated to the schools that I've attended, how that communicates most of the time. But, the reason behind public schools is to make sure that everybody has equal access to education.
Great public schools are necessary for the city because school can be the safest place for a lot of our children in Philadelphia. It provides them with about 8 hours of time away from the streets. It gives them after-school opportunities away from the streets, and it's a place that feeds them twice a day. So in order for our communities to be healthier, our communities to be safer, we need safe schools, we need well-funded schools, we need schools with resources.
So I think what can make our Philadelphia public schools better is just believing in the schools, and with believing comes better allocation of resources. Just even talking about Central specifically, better lunches, better bathrooms, no cockroaches, no rats in the classroom, no need to demand things that are just human and to feel like you have to fight for things. So I think that believing in these schools, what they can do for our children, and believing that there's a future for these children. And in a way, with believing that comes, bettering. I think that a good way health and education are tied is making sure there's spaces for students to feel safe, where they haven't necessarily felt safe in their cities before. A lot of what we know as the school to prison pipeline is kind of keeping kids, giving kids somewhere to feel safe, even if that's away from their neighborhoods or their homes, and keeping, as we've said before, keeping kids away from dangerous situations. And so I think schools can provide that. I think that schools can also be the first resource in regards to food and nutrition that many of the kids that go to Philadelphia public schools can see and have seen in their days or in their years. And so I feel like knowing the food inequity in Philadelphia.
One of the paradoxes, I think, of being invested in public schools is that on one hand, schooling has really been a mechanism of social reproduction and even oppression of Black, brown, and immigrant communities. On the other hand, a lot of families really pin their hopes on public education as a means for more life opportunities, for future generations. So you have this kind of paradox, schools potentially being a liberating force, but schools also too often being an oppressive force.
Public schools are at the center of our communities. Our public schools are where children feel the most safe and feel that they have a community here.
We have to value public schools, and we have to value youth and our babies. I started off as a first grade teacher, so I often say our babies, but we have to value them. They have to be, the most sacred priority of, our society. And I believe that, things like counselors, things like, AP classes, things like multilingual services for the families and parents, creating sanctuary campuses, having adequate number of nurses and counselors, having very rich extracurricular activities. These are like a precondition, for education in a multiracial democracy for all children. This shouldn't be a reward or anything.
If we want Philadelphia to be a safer place for our children and our families, we need to fund schools and make sure that our schools don't have deadly asbestos in them, make sure that they don't have lead contaminants. We have to make sure that even our schools have working bathrooms.
These kids are really learning like how to be like people in this world and like how to communicate with other people, how to like interact and like figure out their values as a person in these schools like while they're growing up. And so like having healthy schools, having clean schools where like kids can go from like kindergarten through like senior year of high school. They're like 5 when they enter, they're 18 when they leave. Like having like a positive and like nourishing experience with like caring teachers, caring principals, like a support network is really important to like growing like good people in this like world. And it's so sad. But I love schools.
I'm with workers uprising and the right to unionize. We ain't crossed the border, so you better legalize. I'm with La Peña del Bronx. I'm still with Victor Toro, cause gentrification is polluting my borough. So bro never, South Bronx forever. Decolonize the block, make your neighborhood better. I ain't down with the rich, I'm more Richie Perez. Don't talk to grand juries or